I think the last time I saw you, I was probably pouring a beer over my head in a Chinese restaurant that time.
That was good stuff. I remember wearing your cells, 3 size too big.
You were a humble little kid.
T-Rex set.
He did a very
T-Rex set.
very narrow, but off my ear, and it burst my eardrum.
There's a few Snapchats to the group chat probably.
Can we rewind in your career in that from the first point you ever played in goal?
I think we must have broke about 3 garage doors.
The 7 dives before that as well.
The Sunday League training picture training on a Wednesday night in Stoke. Donuts. I want some donuts.
Spit out the water, but like I'm like
Triple H. Half time he'd have a boost bar, chocolate bar. That was just his thing. Went on numerous trials, got told I was too small every single time, and then this determination to win, to be the best, just takes over.
What a save from Mark Howard.
Here we go, episode number 1. And what a podcast we have for you on the Yours, Mine, Away podcast with me, Mark Howard. Today we have Arsenal's number 1 and England goalkeeper at the age of 24. Please welcome Aaron Ramsdale.
Thanks for having me.
Long time no see as well.
Has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think the last time I saw you, I was probably pouring a beer over my head in a Chinese restaurant that time.
When was that?
I was on a Christmas do and me and Jem Caracan were sat down and then you walked in with Benicophobe. We'd been to Winter Wonderland all day.
Ah, yes.
And I remember turning around and he's walked in and I was cracking up laughing. And like, honest to God, I think I just turned around and looked at him and I was absolutely drunk as it.
Yeah.
And just like looked at him and just poured a beer straight over my head. And I was like, see you later, mate.
Yeah. That was Bournemouth, yeah. So I forgot about that.
Yeah, I thought I'll bring that up. He'll like that one,
Yeah,
mate.
that was good stuff. You literally did that as well. Thumb in the air, just turned around and walked off.
Yeah, sums me up that. No, honestly, can't thank you enough for coming on, mate. Obviously, we want to talk to you a lot about goalkeeping and about life in general and that. It's been a long time since we've caught up ourselves and going back to our Sheffield United days when you were a 16-year-old nipper looking at me playing in the first team, wearing my old gloves, really.
Yeah, exactly that. You were number 1 when I came in as a youth team player. In them days, gloves were hard to come by on the money we were on, so you got everything. So I remember wearing your cells, 3 size too big.
I used to always collect a big pile of my old gloves in the training ground and leave them around and say to anyone, if anyone needs them. So like some lads would go, I've got 5-a-sides this week. My brother wants them. And then obviously like through Darren Ward, our goalie coach at the time, I was like, look, if the kids need them, just give them to them. And then Hoppo as well, the kit man.
Yeah, so I wore them and took the spines out, which is probably a big mistake because the spines actually made them a bit smaller for me. But I remember wearing them and they were like 3 sizes too big. But you just had to get by because I couldn't afford 80 quid's worth of a glove. So I kept my good ones for the games and wore yours in training. And
I was going to open this up with a joke saying you used to clean my boots. I was like, that's too disrespectful.
I wasn't even doing that. I was picking kit up. I was probably picking your slips up. That was my youth team job.
You were a humble little kid though, and it was like obviously when you first joined in with us, we all knew that you had some talent, mate. It was just whether you were going to progress and fill out into the monster you are today, mate. The size of you now compared to me, I'm like, Christ, I'm intimidated.
Yeah, I was skinny, wasn't I? And
he was, mate. Yeah,
I had bad knees and couldn't move well, but that was great. Training with you guys was definitely intimidating, but it's just it was what you wanted. It was intimidating in the fact that you were playing first team football. You weren't intimidating people, but you try and show your skills off, and sometimes you just can't do it. And it was always good fun. We had a good group when
it was a good group. It was fun. Training was always fun and competitive. Then
always really competitive, and I think obviously Wardy drove that. But then you're a highly competitive person, so was George Long. And then obviously George Willis was there throughout time, if I can remember correctly.
And we had Jake as well.
Yeah, Jake Eastwood. I remember correctly. Who was it? Is it Turner?
Ian Turner came in.
Came in.
Because Longy went out on loan, and then obviously we signed Ian Turner as cover, and then I was playing at that.
T-Rex set.
He did have very
T-Rex set.
Very narrow, high arms. It's a good shout that.
I remember. But yeah, it was a great group, and it was good that obviously we had George Willis, who was with you guys all the time, but then I'd come and play for the 23s, so we'd been in and around our training. And at the time, them two, Longy and George, had been in the England setup and stuff, so it was good. And obviously Matt Duke came in as well and helped training the youngsters, so it was great. But I loved that time because at the time as well, I was training in the mornings with either you guys or the 18s, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evening I'd stay and help coach with Jamie Anderson and do with the kids, and also sneak in a bit of extra training with like the 16s, but like using my feet or whatever. So the best days of your life.
Yeah, they are. When you're coming through, then you don't realise like the opportunities that you do have, but you just enjoy it so much. That's like when football's so basic, and like you strip everything back, and like you used to be able to be a hard worker back then. And even though you knew you weren't going to play, you was like buzzed off it, that feeling, didn't you?
Yeah. Even on a Wednesday doing education.
Yeah.
Like the lads used to hate education, but you used to go in and love it, like for the 3-4 hours you were doing. But back then, you just say yes to everything, like literally everything. I remember there was one game, Barnsley away, I think you had a popped eardrum.
Oh, I burst my eardrum, yeah.
Burst your eardrum.
I saved a shot in training, not surprisingly with the size of my ears, but off my ear, and it burst my eardrum. And I was walking around with tinnitus. I could not hear it out of my ear.
And it was the night before. Basically, you were going to be fine. I think you were on the bench that day, and you were going to be fine for it. But basically, I got a phone call at like 8 o'clock on the Friday just saying, would you want to come and help do the warm-up? So...
Because Mark's got a burst eardrum.
So Mark doesn't have to do too much diving in case he has to go on and whatever. It was like 8 o'clock, and I was absolutely. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, you'll have the 18s game in the afternoon, so it's an early kickoff." I was like, "Yes, Sam."
That's brilliant.
And then you lot went to Christmas do. You got dropped off somewhere, and I was just on the first team coach on my own on the way back to training ground.
Oh God, that must have been a long journey home.
Oh yeah, it was a tough one. Staff at the front. I got the back seat though, didn't I?
Yourself, yeah.
I got Sharpie's seat, so I probably took a few pictures.
Nice. You probably did, definitely on Snapchat as well, weren't it?
Yeah,
Send them around.
There's a few Snapchats to the group chat probably.
Like, can we rewind in your career and that from the first point you ever played in goal? What was the moment that you realised that I love playing in goal?
I said I don't know.
You must have went in like the park or in a...
I think, yeah. So I've got two older brothers. One doesn't play football. And one's not great at football, but we used to play like on the street or whatever. But my first memory was probably be year 2, year 3. I was saying to my dad, like, I've always loved football. Can we join a team? He was like, what position? I said, in goal. And I was sat in the back seat to the driver's seat's left. And he just turned around and said, are you mad? And that's the first time I really remember. And then, like year 3, we had like a little primary school tournament cup, and I was in goal then. And then just through then onwards, all I remember was playing Wembley doubles, and they'd always be like, who's going in goal? And I'd go in goal for like 4-5 games on the bounce, then have a game outfield.
Yeah. No one enjoyed playing in goal in Wembley doubles.
No, honestly, we used to love it. And we'd have a great group. We'd probably have about 12 of us, and it used to get really competitive. So it was even better if I went in goal, and it was making them. It was harder for them.
Yeah.
Days were just filled of just diving around.
It's always the tale of the older brother as well, by the way. So mine was similar. Obviously, my brother, we played in the back garden, and he played outfield. So I went in goal, and actually, it was like he just wanted to smash balls at me and try and hurt me.
That was the same. It was on. I think it was on the front. I think we must have broke about 3 garage doors. We used to play on the use the garage as the goal. Yeah,
that was the goal.
Yeah,
that was the goal.
That was the goal. So he chucked me in there, and we try and score. Yeah, from then onwards, we tried to get the local team, which all my mates still play for. So they've gone through like all through the ages. And they had a keeper. So I was very fortunate that one of my dad's friend's son, he was having a trial with Port Vale in goal. So his team was a year above, but they needed a goalkeeper. So I went and played for them. and then at the same time played for my own age group for that team in the afternoon and played outfield. And then I was about 3 games in and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I just play in goal. And then we formed a new team called Marsh Town, where I was there for 4 seasons.
And straight in goal then, yeah.
Straight in goal, absolutely loved it. It was in the days where you kind of play like, what was it, 2 30 minutes and then like 2 15 minutes. So it's kind of 2 games, but it was
broken up,
all one game.
Used to call them a double header.
Double header, yeah. There's only one time I've ever not finished a game for the Sunday League, and that was when it was so cold. I think we were playing like bottom of the league, and I was literally freezing, so I got took home early. But yeah, that manager Keith Griffiths, he was like, does he want to play properly in goals? Like, want to get better? So I was like, yeah. So he managed to put me in contact with Fred Barber, and that's where the journey starts.
That's where your hard work began.
That's where I got humbled very quickly.
I've never had the pleasure of working with Fred, but I've heard the horror stories about how hard training is. He trained you to the point where you may as well sign up for the military.
Yeah, so Fred Barber was Bolton Wanderers' first team goalie coach for 12 years. So this was probably, I'm talking sort of 98 to 2015 when they got relegated sort of time. So the whole sort of time when Jaskalainen was there, Bogdan and whatever, he was their goalie coach, and he was also Northern Ireland's goalie coach. But he is from Stoke, which is where I grew up, and he did like a goalkeeping academy for all ages. The young kids were, so Wednesdays and Fridays, young kids would be 4:30 to 5:30, and then the older, and it would range from 45-year-olds to 18-year-olds. Some play semi-pro, some play Sunday League. We'd get a pro every now and then come down from like Crewe or Vale if they need to get some fitness.
This is before the goalkeeping coaches were a real thing. So like he was one of the first pioneers of being a goalie coach, weren't he? He was like a maverick, because everyone's like, we don't need a goalie coach, but he was the one that was taking in anybody that would be willing to turn up.
Yeah, literally. And I remember doing his first session. I did the kids and the first one, and he said to my mum and dad, does he want to stay and do the next one with the older age? And I did. So I did about 3 hours on the bounce.
You must have known you were a bit of all right when you got asked to do that.
Yeah, I didn't.
He must have.
Speaking back to him, he was like, he saw something. Because I think I was only 11, and I think normally the youngest age to do the older ones is probably about 15, because you've got grown men and women at the time booting balls at you, playing goalie wars at the end, like
buzzing.
But
sorry, goalie wars.
Oh, it's one of the best
2 goals.
Games. It's the dream.
Right, 2 goals, 18 yards apart.
Just lash balls at each other.
2 keepers and a goal each, one side each, and just try and score.
But like you're only allowed to shoot from like 6 yards each side, and literally it's just whack the ball as hard as you can.
Miss the goal, run
you
round
miss
the
the goal, you run round the goal, so it's a bit fitness, and then one keeper gets left in the lurch in the middle of the goal, only 18 yards from the other one. We all crave every day goalie wars.
Yeah.
No goalie coach does it anymore.
No.
Like every day you'll go out saying, please let there be head tennis, please let there be goalie wars, and it's just gone.
Yeah, Fred still does it on his goalie camps, and it's always at the end of the session when you're knackered. And the one thing I will say from going when I used to train with him, he always used to make me do the demos and then do my actual sets.
Yeah, they don't count. The demo doesn't count.
And he'd always have the same line. We'd do this, he'd put on this incredibly hard set to finish. And you knew he was going to call it early to play goalie wars, but you didn't know at the same time. So he'd make me start, and I'd be halfway through, and then he'd go, right, or I'd finish it, and then people are like, oh, looks tough. And then you go, right, balls in, let's play goalie wars. And I'm just there, like, lying on my back, like, absolutely dying. But no. He's still doing
Do you reckon
it.
that was him pushing you, though, knowing that he could get more out of you?
Probably. I think so. I think I spoke to him recently because Arthur Nkonkwo plays for Arsenal. He's just gone on loan to Crewe. And we get worked hard at Arsenal. We have a Spanish coach, and it's different, though. Like, his is a very explosive, and Fred's it's hard. It's short dives and volleys, and if you drop a volley, you start the short dives again. And Arthur couldn't finish his first training session with Fred.
No way.
Because I said it's hard. I left a lot of things out for him to realise. And Fred texted me and said he couldn't finish the first day. So I rang Arthur, and he was like, it's
not going to work out.
Serious. This is serious. And he's like, I need the games to start coming Saturday, Tuesday, so I get a bit more time off.
He signed quite late into their pre-season, luckily. Imagine if he had to do the whole thing.
I know. But he'll be
so much better.
He'll come back, and he'll be in a such better place physically and mentally. So it's more of a mental challenge with Fred than anything, literally. Because, like I say, he tells you to catch every volley, and if you drop one, you have to start the set again. So mentally with Fred is probably harder than physically.
Yeah, because there's times when you're like, I cannot physically catch that.
And
he'd still count that as you dropped it.
He chucks one. He's got a wonderful left foot for an older guy now. And when you're on your last one and you go and you just literally want it here, he can purposely put it just over your shoulder. So you need to move your feet, and you know you can't. So the only way is you just hope it sticks, and it won't stick because you've got mud all over your hands from like a Sunday league.
The 7 dives before that as well.
Sunday league training pitch you're training on a Wednesday night in Stoke. And he'll just throw it here. Right, start again. And it's like, oh, I've got another 7 short dives to do with a volley, and if I don't catch the volley, I go again. It's horrible. But it was where it all started. It was the ground in which made me realise that working hard.
So from doing that then, is that when he introduced you to Bolton?
Yeah, but I was also a bit fortunate. He was having talks with the academy coaches at Bolton, but he worked for Northern Ireland. So on international weeks, he used to be away, which then meant someone had to come and do his schools. And that would be Neil Edwards and Sam Meek, who were 23s, 18s and academy goalkeeper coaches at Bolton. So once Fred was away, they'd come down, and then
Brilliant.
I caught their eye after him telling me about them. I caught their eye, and then it sort of snowballed from there. They came to a few of my Sunday League team games, and then got asked for a trial, 6-week trial, and went. So it was the sort of winter when I was about 11, and I did a 6-week trial with UC's son Will, who you know.
I've also worked with Will.
Yeah, and we spent me and him spent 5 years together. So
not just that, you end up living with him.
that was So that was another great thing. I got the chance to. This Premier League goalkeeper, in my eyes, one of the most
successful,
disrespected, underrated goalkeepers to play, which people don't really remember because he played in a Bolton team which didn't really win anything. And
yeah, but they were a team they started signing some unbelievable players in that era, and he was the stalewart. He was the first name on that team sheet week in, week out, and they had world-class players at that point.
All the time. And he hardly ever missed a game.
He used to have a really unusual set position where his legs would be really wide, but he'd be really narrow. So it was like something that English goalkeepers hadn't really seen before. And so it was so different for us to see such a strange set position. But again, with like a Peter Schmeichel who had like a massive presence, they all brought their own little techniques in, and we were all regimented normally, English goalkeepers.
From the book.
Yeah, it was from the same book. We all got taught the same way. And anytime someone broke that rule, it was like, that's not right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I get to see him on a Saturday playing in the Premier League, Saturday night or Monday evening. I'd be over at his house, staying over as my sort of accommodation. And then we go and train. There's been times where he'd play Saturday, 3 o'clock for Bolton, Premier League. Saturday night, he'd be out in the garden kicking balls. Me and Will will be kicking balls at him, or we'll be kicking balls at me and Will.
That's amazing.
And it was, looking back at it now, it was crazy to think, because after a game, there's nothing less I want to do.
Then go in the garden and kick some footballs.
Especially with two sort of 12, 13-year-olds who were full of energy. So yeah.
But in theory, you could have been trying to emulate what he had done in that game. And without him actually realising it that day, he might have made a save. And then you've gone home and went, should we get your dad to like take some volleys at us and see if we can do that save?
It was amazing, because he just became a mentor without becoming a mentor. And he became an extra coach, probably amazing, without even realising. Yeah. And, you know, it's very close friends still to this day. And
I'm hoping to get him and Will on the pod together. I think that'll be a great episode to pit them against each other and like, find out how football's changed and their own achievements.
It was very hard on Will. Not too much, but I think because he was the only goalkeeper out of the three boys, which he has. And he's obviously the oldest. The oldest always get a little bit more hard treatment, don't they?
Also played with one of his brothers at Blackpool.
Emil?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
So he's doing really well. He's out in America. But Robin, the younger one, he was always the funniest. I remember he was playing for West Ham at this point. Remember when Bale put one in the top bins like last minute for Spurs v West Ham?
Yep.
So UC then travelled home after that game, and we were there the next day. And his youngest boy said, "Why you not save it? Why you not dive?" And like me and Will are obviously there going, "That's just unstoppable." And he's like, "Why'd you not dive though? Like, why don't you just give it a go?" And UC was like, I didn't know what to say or anything, but it was just amazing. Young boy
telling him to buy a ticket for the raffle.
Yeah, basically, he was just grilling him.
That's mad, that. Yeah. So then from there, obviously, from Bolton, you got let go at 16, yeah. And then you came across to Sheffield United and that, and did your YTSU Academy sort of stuff with us and that. And from them, mate, like the progression that you've made in your career, like you're only 24 now, mate, but like how fast-tracked you've done things and what you've experienced has just made you grow as a man, not just as a goalkeeper. Like your loans obviously clearly had a huge effect. How did that loan system work out for you?
Yeah. Wouldn't be sat here now if I didn't go on loan, and I probably wouldn't be sat here now if I didn't go to a loan which was struggling. If I'd have gone somewhere who were top of the league and hardly touching the ball.
What age was you when you went to Chesterfield?
19.
19, yeah.
Yeah. I had to grow up real quick, so I moved to Bournemouth, living on my own for the first time, then went back to sort of Sheffield area and was comfortable again. And I remember my first game against Accrington, I chucked 2 in. Then kept a clean sheet against the league leaders the week after. And then 4th game in, I came out to clear a ball, missed the ball against Stevenage. Geezer runs round, taps in. But all these experiences for Chesterfield, the team had zero confidence. We were a young team. The fans were great. I was making mistakes. I was playing really well, making saves. And down in them leagues, I was saying to Arthur as well, like, he was like, should I go to League One and try and push into the team? I was like, the difference between League One and League Two, which I found really is very little. You probably just get a few strikers who have dropped down from the Championship.
100% agree with you.
Sometimes have a little bit more quality. You kick a ball, you're coming out for catches against 6'5" strikers, 6'5" centre halves. The fans are horrible. The pitches are horrible.
Stadiums are all similar.
Changing rooms are all horrible. All you've got to do is do your job. And Chesterfield was all up and down for me, but it was more about just getting out there and playing. And the second loan, I thought at the time, I genuinely thought they were taking a little bit of the mick out of me, sending me to another team, bottom of the league, by about 12 points.
We've also brushed over here his move to Bournemouth from like relatively getting released off Bolton and then coming through at Sheffield United and that, and then progressing to I think the last season when I left, you ended up on the bench that season, and you very quickly earned your move to Bournemouth, and then obviously from going there you did a pre-season and then found yourself straight out on loan, really, didn't you?
Yeah. So yeah, I moved in the January, so the season which Sheffield United got promoted. Moved in January, so I had 6 months sort of bedding in time, finding my feet. Then did a pre-season, and then in the January went out on loan. I was pushing for it for a long time, but just wasn't the right time. And the gaffer thought keep me in. I was third choice, fourth choice, travelling to all the games, warming up, and then the Chesterfield loan comes about. So we get relegated. I've had the taste to play, break my thumb in the pre-season, just tipping a ball over the crossbar and whacked and hit my thumb on the crossbar, and it broke.
I broke my thumb throwing the ball out, and one of the players for Mansfield at the time jumped across my path, and my thumb hit him square on the top of the head, and it shattered my socket. So it's a very similar weird goalkeeper injury.
Yeah. So I took a bit longer to recover. Wasn't sort of enjoying the football as much, going from sort of playing, not playing. At the time, Bournemouth 23s, we were on a different training facility. So I wasn't training with the 23s. I was in and out of training with the first team, not getting any chances. 19-20, single, wanted to go out, come from League One, and a manager who allowed your players to go out. Got into a bit of trouble in that sort of sense, picking the right times, sort of immaturity and stuff. And
that's
then
only natural at that age. That's your progression is not just learning on the football pitch; it's learning off it.
I think the reason I'm sat here now is most of it's come off the pitch. The reason I only went on loan is because I missed the bus for Chelsea. Got myself back into sort of the frame. Carabao Cup game, got myself back on the bench. World Cup, went back to sleep, missed the bus.
Was you living on your own as well?
Yeah.
So like these things on your own happen all the time. It's just dependent on how busy that day is and what your schedule is that day.
It's just all about the timing. So I missed that bus, went into the training ground, trained on my own. 2 days later, was out in Wimbledon. Again, I was sharing an apartment with one of the lads. But at this time, I had to wash my own kit, cook all my own food, because at Chesterfield I was in a hotel. So everything about it now is changing. And then off the pitch, I met my fiance now.
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way.
I didn't know I'd say that then.
Yeah.
But I met her at Wimbledon. So everything off the pitch was coming together, and then something clicked on the pitch. I had a manager in Wally Downs who is a character, proper character like me. Ashley Bays, if you've come across him, is an absolute character. And it just brought the best out of me on the pitch. We somehow stayed up. Somehow.
Because you, in part, had a really good loan spell, didn't you?
I had unbelievable 25 games. We got to the FA Cup 5th round. Beat West Ham. Should have beat Millwall. We lost to them. Went on this mad run, and I was probably playing the best football that I have.
Is that because you were just back to keeping goal?
Yeah, just back to doing what I know I can do.
I found it throughout my career, right, that when you're called upon to just keep the ball out of the net, especially in dogfights, you go into like a survival mode, and it becomes instinctive, just like making saves, and you don't put any thought process behind them. You end up going a bit safer than normal as well, because you're like, if I do drop one, we might get relegated. Yeah. So what you do is you bat everything away. Your parries are double that distance than normal. You go and make blocks that you think, and it becomes like a different breed of who you are, especially when your back's against the wall in those situations.
Definitely. And then, but that thought process of I'll parry it, and you do it properly, and you parry it, the crowd will give you a clap anyway. So it brings you up. And I remember, so at my time at Bournemouth before the Wimbledon one, as I said, sort of fell out of love. So it took more time with my injury. And with Bezo, it was hard work, but such a laugh every day. And the training pitch was awful. And it was just mud. And it just reminded me of being back with Fred. diving around in the mud, getting as much mud on my clothes as I could to make my mum's job more hard.
That's the whole reason we became goalies originally.
And that's what I was doing at Wimbledon. And I followed that on the year after. And just quickly, the first 3 months when I went back to Sheffield United in the Premier League, I lost that again. And then at Christmas time, it returned. I had some good, honest chats with the people around me. And I just went back to trying to dive around in the mud. Didn't care if it was the right save technique or the right decision. If I kept the ball out the back of the net, that was the right decision.
That is the right decision there.
And that's kind of where my performances will benefit from. So if you ever see me where I'm sort of having a patch where I'm not playing at my best, it's probably because I'm trying to think too much.
And you're trying to over-impress and do extras to your game. And sometimes you have to just strip it back,
Wally used to say, you had a ball, well, you've probably had it with Cloughie. You had a ball in there at half, we'll play off second balls, quick throw-ins.
Like Cloughie used to get me for the last 5 minutes of each half to kick the ball out of play. The fans would notoriously boo me. So like the last 5 minutes of the first half, no matter what the score, he was like, we can't concede another goal before half-time, and if we're winning, we'll keep our lead before half-time. And it would be the same at the end of a game. So I would go into go in at half-time, and the fans are going, his kicking's crap. He's kicked the ball out of play. And I'll be like, he's telling me to do it. We had one game, it was Oldham away, and it was like the last 10 minutes, I don't think I kept the ball in play. But we were winning 1-0. And so
they can't score from there.
They can't score.
Cannot score.
During the game, Cloughie was joining in with the fans, and he was going to me, like pointing at me, he was going like, keep the ball in play, just trying to hit the strikers. So I just kept like, no, he's told me to do this, I've got to do this. After the game again, the dressing room was like, I love that. I love that. You stuck to your guns, you knew what you was doing. He goes, I had to do that. And I was like, oh my God, that don't help me out.
No.
But at the time I was like, oh, we've won 1-0.
Yeah. Wally was amazing. Like he didn't give me or any of the team that much tactics wise. Forward and wide early is what he used to say. Basically his whole thing. So if a neutral came into the training ground and was thinking we were working on defensive blocks and all this to try and stay up, it wasn't. It was all about what he created in the dressing room for 6 months, how all of us loan signings brought into it, and how we were all playing. We had a goal scorer who was scoring, and I was keeping the ball out the back of the net with the defenders, and then your better players at the top of the pitch were producing.
Yep. Get the ball to your better players, isn't it?
Literally. And he was just like, every time I got the ball, because going back to it, the Chesterfield one was just get out on loan and play. The Wimbledon one, the goalie coaches and the manager at Bournemouth really watched in-depth clips of my game.
Yep.
So they watched it for the Chesterfield, but it was just playing, see what you can do. Now it was, right, your decision was to go long, but have you seen the fullback? Did you scan?
Yep.
And it's like...
That doesn't get us results, though.
No, but they were trying to see me playing in their team. It was like, your decision was fine, but like when you play for us, have you seen that pass out there? Because we want to be able to play the ball more. So you are thinking about it more, and it was great. But I knew if I did do that and passed it, I'm getting an absolute rollicking.
Yeah.
So it was
and
great.
you'd also be passing it at that level to someone that generally doesn't want the ball.
They're just in that position.
They're just there because that's where they've landed. And you're passing it to them, and they're just going to try and hoof it.
They're just hooking it back on. But that was amazing because I had the Bournemouth side of it trying to prepare me for what they want, and then I had a manager who was so simple. So if I'd have had both managers sort of similar, I think I'd have been stuck in the middle. But I literally had Wally saying, do your job, kick it long. I remember I was late to a meeting. I think literally like 30 seconds late, walked in. Sorry, Gaffer. Donuts. I want some donuts. I was like, what? What? He was like, when the players' birthdays, you bring donuts in. We never get any for the staff. All right, tomorrow morning, there's Krispy Kremes down round by the training ground. When I got him 6 donuts, and then I got 12 for the staff. What are you doing in here? Your donuts, Gaffer. Don't worry about that. Carry on performing like you are. You can do what you want. But then I just like walked out of there thinking, obviously I'm not going to take liberties anyway, but thinking, I've got his whole backing. I can do no wrong for him.
Yeah, but that must have kept you humble as well, because he didn't really mean it. But it was just almost not a test of character, but he was trying to bring you out of yourself, and he might have been testing you to see if you did bring the donuts. He might not have cared either way, but it's like credit to like how you've adapted to each role like you've had to go into in the scenarios. That's something that every goalkeeper throughout their career, you go and play slightly different football, and then you have to reinvent yourself. But you've had like the best of both worlds, because you obviously the playing out from the back, it goes to where you are now and what you're now able to do, and that comes from grounding earlier on in your career.
Yeah, I think that was I was fortunate with that because I was in the system quite early with England, so under 18s, and they sort of realised that we don't do it at the club. So it was down to me to go and do it. So I went and go train with like the first year scholars or the under 16s and do like passing drills and stuff. But then I had a manager in Chris Wilder who was, don't concentrate on that, go long. So I was able to do it behind the scenes.
Brilliant.
So I wasn't really making like the mistakes which you probably see young keepers doing when they're trying to play out. Like my game when I was playing for him,
take no risks.
Simple, take no risks. And then I was able to practice and practice and practice on the training pitch. And then with England. But by that point with England, it goes opposite from what you've just been saying. These players want the ball and they're going to try and play. So even if it's a bad pass,
But so your passing drills and practice in the evenings with the kids stood you in good stead for then adapting again?
Absolutely. Like I had to do that, or I wouldn't be as comfortable as I am now, or realising at the same time why we're doing whichever way we're doing. So there's times now where we like to play football. We love to try and play out from the back, but there's times Brentford, first 3 games of the season, I didn't do one short goal kick. And then Brentford, before the international break, I didn't do one short goal kick.
Do you reckon that's because of the expectancy that Arsenal play football? Teams are putting such a high press on you.
Realisation, yeah.
Yeah.
It's down to the manager saying, this is our map. Go and do what you need to do. Like, this is what we want you to do. But if you see 3 for 3 at the top of the pitch, man to man, go long. So they're, like you say, they're coming to press us. We'll just turn you. We got Jesus, Saka, and Martinelli absolutely sprinting at people. If I can and get it in behind, which a lot of the times I can, if they're a high line, then why would you not?
Because you've developed into an absolute monster with the ball, like kicking it long as well. But like playing out,
you
like to playing out from the back.
I used to watch you.
So I notoriously kick the ball miles. Everybody knows that, don't they? It's
especially off like a short run up as well. Like
yeah, I take like a 1 or 2 step run up, and I can kick the ball box to box. And it's like I've always been able to do it, but I've always broke my kicking down into a golf swing. So like I try and I can draw the ball, I can fade the ball, just depending on how I strike the ball. So I've like simplified what I do to make my levers really long.
Do you find there's any difference with different leagues, different balls, how much of a difference does that stuff make?
The balls.
Go on, you can crack that off.
Right, so the balls are totally different. Going from a Nike ball that doesn't fly anymore. We played pre-season against Man United, and I kicked it for the first time in this pre-season game, and I thought I'd kicked a biscuit tin. Is that not one of the best ways of describing it?
Plastic.
Yeah.
Is that as I describe it?
It flies brilliantly for 30 yards, dies after that. So you can...
Hitting a fullback, beautiful.
Yeah.
Little zinger off the grass, lovely.
If you're trying to put everything you've got behind the ball, you can't. It just doesn't fly.
It doesn't.
It comes off like a wobble now. So it's designed for strikers to shoot from within 25 yards and not connect with the ball properly. But then when you go to like the EFL and they've got the mitre ball, it's lovely, it's leather, it's padded, it's heavy, right? And it's got a good latex to catch with, but boy, can you kick it.
Yeah. And you play with the Nike ones, and because it's very plastic based, the feel of it's plastic. You get one in the chest in the winter off the thigh, it kills.
Stings.
The Puma or mitre balls, which they're now in, they have a bit of padding, like you're saying. So they are heavier, but the sweet spot's so much nicer.
So you imagine when you kick a ball, it compresses. Yeah. So the mitre balls, because they've got this extra coating of padding, they compress that bit more. And as soon as they release they just fly. And it is mental, but because they've got a better sweet spot, because they're a bit more cushioned, they just travel. So when strikers are shooting, they're more true. So you won't see like a wobble free kick or a wobble shot in the Championship or in the EFL, because the ball will travel true. Where the Nike balls, they just compress and just like go boing.
All over the gaff. I've been fortunate with international to play with all types of balls now. And
careful what you say. What type of balls?
And in the Europa League, Bolton, it's a volleyball.
Is it?
It is a volleyball. It sounds like a volleyball. It's a flyaway.
Yeah.
But then you get the Adidas balls. I love playing with Adidas balls. Although they are proper tailored for outfielders, they wobble everywhere. But when you kick it, it stays true. So it's weird. Like over a short distance, if you're trying to wobble it, you can. Knuckleball, everything. If you want to nail it, it'll stay true. So I think they've got that spot on. But I think it's just hard. Like especially in the winter, obviously the ball travels a little bit less anyway.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
You look at it now, we were talking earlier, like Ederson, if you look at him in the Champions League, it's a smooth, nice strike with the Adidas ball when it flies. And I'm not saying it's massively much difference, but you can see him definitely trying a little bit harder with the night balls to get the extra
You think
distance.
Ederson 2 years ago was getting 2 or 3 assists a season, and he was just playing it over the top to Leroy Sané. It made it look effortless. But those balls back then flew truer, so he could kick it further and straighter. But now that the balls have slightly changed, he can't do it. So you'll see last year he didn't get any assists. He hasn't had one this year, and he's not even attempting those passes anymore. So for that to have changed a goalkeeper's way of playing is crazy, really, from just a ball changing.
I mean, what makes the change? What dictates the changes?
A lot of it's down to design, I think. A lot of it will be down to sort of like the patterns they have in it, and now they've got some grooves in and stuff.
They're trying to make it perfectly aerodynamic, so they put it in like wind tunnels and they see the way the air travels over it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it plays well. So they don't test it on the pitch before they release it.
They've started it now.
Oh, have they?
So
Yeah.
what we've tried, so last season, or was it last season, we tried 2025's ball, which they're trying to make now. And that feels amazing. And it feels so good. And I said, is this what it's going to be like? And they said, it's still going to get changed.
In the future.
And then it's kind of, they'll just change it.
Yeah, they
and
will.
It'll be
Yeah.
back to square one again.
Yeah.
But it's all, we know we can moan to the hills. The moon comes in, but
It's because we don't play football, we're goalkeepers.
it's all about outfielders. It's even boots nowadays.
Yeah.
Like we wear the Predators,
I wear the Preds as well, yeah.
and I got shown Predators for 2 years' time, like the blackout version, and they feel light as anything because they want more attackers in them,
Right, so they're F50s.
basically. So we're a unique person on the pitch anyway, but everyone wants to see goals. So the balls are made for goals, but at the same time,
They're making boots for goals.
If you can get a ball which can be played over the top by a goalkeeper to make a goal, surely people want to see that as well. Like you used to see Ederson doing, go, wow.
Yeah,
How's he doing that?
We were
Wow.
all like in love with when he would just clip this ball over the top of the defence and have a one-on-one. You'd be like, wow.
I remember Huddersfield at City, and Aguero's just standing on the edge of the box, and they're so high, and he clips over the top. Aguero gets it, one touch, dinks the keeper, and they're like 1-0 up.
It's
crazy.
effortless as well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How does that change then? Obviously with your gloves as well. So we talked about how football boots and how footballs are changing, right? Let's go through your gloves.
This is Matt Smith, and this is the glove review on the Yours, Mine, Away podcast.
These are Aaron's current gloves that he wears. What size are you?
8.
Right, so this is mental that like Aaron's an inch taller than me. I wear size 11 gloves, but obviously like we've said, I wear spines in mine, so that does make the fingers a bit tighter, but my gloves are based on, all gloves you measure on width. There is on the back of every glove packet, there's a stupid little measuring device.
Don't know how
it does not work.
Never seen anyone try to do it. Never.
And it wouldn't compute because everybody's hands are individual.
It's like feet. So the sizes run like feet. So you have 8s, 8.5s, 9s. The top keepers will have
you included.
I mean, yeah.
You are a top
not in these. But if I went, a few years ago, Salesy tried to make me a glove. So he measured both my hands. So there might have been a time where, they'll be bespoke to me. There might be a time when you've got a hand size bigger. People have it in boots where they have an 8.5 and an 8 or whatever. So mine are really weird. I've got a wrist size of an 8, a width size of a 10, and a finger size of a 9. My biggest problem with gloves is like the excess latex. So like when you do this,
it cups.
It
You
cups.
get like a pad, like an air pocket almost.
So that was my biggest problem. So I'm an 8, so these are nice and tight. But there's just something about them. They haven't changed them for a while, which has been really good for me because it's the worst thing in the world when they get changed.
Yep, and then they are constantly changing. Every time there's a new pair of football boots, you'll get the new colourway as well, won't you? And they will want Aaron to match all of these sort of things. But every season, would you say they change the style of the glove?
They've tried to. So they've had this style for 18 months now, and they will change it again probably at the end of this year. But luckily, the past few changes have just sort of been the backhand. So the ones before had the spikes, where these have got like the more of the rubbery bits.
Similar to the Predator boots.
Yeah. But before that, they were straps. Now you can still get the straps, but
You can get the ones that are higher up your wrist as well.
yeah. So to me now, I would feel real weird wearing the strap. I think you give me a week, I'd be fine because you're not concentrating on it. But like, so when I do this,
you don't have any gaverage.
no,
there.
there's nothing there. But yeah, so I just like, there's two different versions. So these are the hybrids, Predator Pro hybrids, which have like sort of the extra latex on the back of the fingers.
When I first started coming through, there was an Adidas glove called Adidas Fingertips, right? And
So that's these.
So that is them
That
now.
is
That
these.
is like the new version.
So these are the
And
fingertips.
So when I first started playing in goal, and like not my first ever pair of gloves, but when I went full time, I loved the Adidas Fingertips. And then Edwin van der Sar came on the scene with his finger saves, and I was like, I'm wearing them because he wears them. So they are the newer version. But
So these are the fingertips. So they've always had like the finger saves, and then they've had sort of two others, which are the fingertips, which are now the hybrids.
Are the tips to offer a level of more protection, more grip, or?
I think it's just more of a design.
it's a design. Also, when your finger is in them, you can feel the end of them. And when you bend your finger, you actually feel like you've got extra grip inside. It's a weird, like, psychological thing. But you're like, oh, I can really pull my hand in. So if you're making a fist, or even if you're clawing one away, you're like, I've got a bit extra here. Instead of them being a flat palm and like you making a fingertip save, sometimes they would twist and you're not quite catching it with the latex.
And that's probably the main difference between the two are the fingers. So these are sort of like tucked in.
They're not a roll finger, they're like a hybrid between a flat
they're like
palm
tucked
with a
in.
roll finger top.
And the other ones don't have this on the back, and they are literally flat palm, and they're a lot thinner. So you see Kepa, Melier. See, I'm an absolute freak. I'll probably tell you what every Premier League goalie wears gloves.
But see, look, this is the thing with goalkeepers. We fantasize about gloves. We smell, like I've said it before, we smell them, we touch them. Literally, you play against someone else, right? And you shake their hand after the game. The first thing you do is look at their gloves.
Yeah.
You like, you go, all right, mate. Oh, you got them ones.
Yeah.
And like, we're weird.
Yeah. So I think there's me and Jose Sarr at Wolves who wear these. Emi Martinez wears the pros. So does Melier.
His hands look massive in them, mine.
Yeah.
Like his must be an
And I
11 or
think
12.
I think me and Sarr, I think, are the only sort of two who wear just like standard ones, like the ones you can buy.
Yeah, non-customs. Yeah.
So a lot of the others have got straps. They'll have little adjustments for the thumbs and everything. But I've been quite fortunate. Same with boots. Like I can put them on and wear them, and I'll be fine.
Yep.
How often do you go through new gloves then?
Yeah. This latex is really, really soft.
But he's sponsored by them, so it doesn't matter.
We get there's 3 or 4 colorways a year. I'll get 30 pairs per colorway. I'll wear a fresh pair for every game, because the latex is so soft. So this is a pair I wore last week. So I wore Brentford, I wore these, and I wore 3 sessions with England.
So that is technically, he's worn them for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You work that out, right? That is not a lot of value for money. But what they do for that one game and that feeling and confidence that you have in that glove for that one game, you're like...
There's been times where people have come up to me and said, what gloves do you wear, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to buy them for my son or daughter. And I'll probably see them a month later, they've ripped.
But you can buy different versions of each glove.
Of course.
Adidas, they will sell a high level one, a medium, and a low. And the low ones are
a bit like the boots, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
boots
They
do.
are designed to last a lot longer, a lot more durable, and you'll get more value for money. But you won't get the level of performance that
For as
Aaron will
long.
get from his.
Especially for the kids who train on Astro. They're just literally... So these are covered in...
The plastic sheeting,
plastic
yeah, it's like a
cellophane.
cellophane sheet. Before-
It's to preserve the latex, because I could have this pair of glove for the whole year. I'm trying to find... So you have to peel it off, and the latex is that soft.
That if you pull the laminate off too quickly or too vigorous, you can take a little bit of the latex off.
You peel it off. So I don't let anyone touch it.
There's a bit there. Look. So in the top of that, right, you'll see I can peel away this plastic sheeting. It's very fine, but that normally covers the whole glove. And as a goalkeeper, before a game or before a training session, I have sat in dressing rooms for ages.
I do it all the time.
Do you
All
sit
the
on the
time.
coach on the way to a game?
No, so I do it on the my match gloves. I'll do on the Friday and wash them and stuff.
What's your typical pre-match into a game? So on a Friday, you'll wear that pair of gloves.
No, just in case they do rip.
Yep. So how do you break them in? You would give them a little wash.
I washed them.
Yeah.
So I'll have 2 pairs of the orange, and then sort of my training pairs, which will either be old ones or the old colourways. So
By wash, he doesn't mean use soap or a brush.
just water.
Just use water and
Just
rub your
water.
hands together, and then you rub it on a towel to take that coating.
Yeah, so
there's a powdery feeling that you get off them when you first
just
wash them.
like
Yeah,
a
it's
chemicals
chemical.
to
So
preserve everything.
you literally put them under water, you rub them together, you rub them on a towel, and you rinse and repeat.
Right, so just going back to it. So I peeled the latex off just a little bit. That's how soft they can be. So yeah, water. I'll either put my hands in or just rub them together. These will last a lot longer when they're wet, but I don't like them too wet. So I'll do that sort of the Thursday and then wash them, just rinse them again on the Friday, and then
Good to go Saturday.
good to go Saturday.
Do you leave them overnight in a towel or just
No.
out to dry?
Just air.
Yep, that's
Not-
it. I'm in the same. Yep.
No, not warm.
Nowhere
Not
near a
towel.
radiator. That dries them out.
And then it's down to me on the Saturday. Sometimes I'll wear them for the volleys, half volleys, a few dives, take them off.
Put
and
on a training pair.
Training pair.
Yep.
Or sometimes if they feel a little bit
Not ready to
not
wear.
ready, I'll just completely wear them for the warm up. And then they'll be good to go. You're catching so many balls. So that's typically what it was. I used to wear them on a Friday. But I used to get so conscious that in case...
Damaging them.
Yeah, I've got like a little thing where if I've got a little bit of latex, I know a lot of people like to wear them.
Yeah, I don't. I'm like
yeah.
you.
Ben-
I've got
Ben Foster
OCD.
can-
If they look damaged,
Yeah.
I'm like
I can't wear
they're
them.
not 100%.
No, exactly the same. But Ben Foster likes the little bits of greys, and because he knows then they've been worn.
I've got a
With-
story about a keeper once, right? So Neil Alexander used to play for Cardiff and Ipswich and Glasgow Rangers, right? Before a game, he had a brand new pair of gloves that he had because one pair had ripped. So his other pair he had to wear, and they were slippery as. And he literally got I'm sure it was like a potato peeler. He got something and he sanded them to make them rough because that day we was playing a cup game and it was soaking wet. And he sanded it and they all went rough and bobbly like your old pet. And he just wore them like that and they were incredible. His hands were like glue.
Bernd Leno wears Puma. He wears Spines, and in between our little goalie area and the pitches is like the red bricks, little
like
pebbles.
ash. Red ash it's called.
Rubs his hands all over it, and I'm like, I showed him after a training session they were pretty.
What would happen
knackered.
to yours?
Did it, and there was just holes. But it's like that's what he likes. He likes to feel. I like mine to be just wet and looking nice. He likes his to feel rough and not too wet. He likes his like that. So
I think a lot of people would like to know what your match day looks like, what you would eat.
yeah, so I'm not too fussy with eating. I'll either wake up and I'm hungry, and I'll have a different pre-match, or I'll wake up and I'm normal and just force myself to eat cereal and some toast. Or sometimes if I'm hungry, I'll have sort of like eggs on toast, or like if it's a late kick-off, if I'm hungry, chicken, some toast and whatever. So I quite vary, but recently it's just been cereal.
Quite light.
Yeah, like
Yep.
Weetabix or Cocoa Pops or anything, and then like a slice of toast with some jam.
Because a goalkeeper, typically, we don't need a big meal, big
Ours is through the
carbohydrates. As is through the week, we fuel up during the week. That on a match day, I like to be as light as possible. And it's not that feeling of feeling full that feels like it would slow you down. You just like to feel like your body is going to be running at your optimum it can do. So like me feeling lighter, and I'm literally like a caffeine addict on a match day. Like, and this is something that you'll find. Like, I have like loads of coffees. I even chew caffeine gum before each half. Back in the day, I used to take Pro Pluses, but like even like down to I used to have Red Bulls, and then I've started to just go right. I'll just have coffee and caffeine gum, and I find that plenty now.
So I'll have a coffee in the morning. So say it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. Coffee when we go on a walk in the morning, like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then another coffee with pre-match.
That's about 11:30.
Yeah. I have a coffee on the way to the training, onto the stadium, so on the bus. I'll get there, I'll have, so the Pro Pluses, the tablets, but now they're in shots.
Yep.
So caffeine shots. I'll have a caffeine shot just before warm-up with a caffeine gum for the warm-up. And then at half-time, I'll have enough caffeine gum.
You must be buzzing.
Yeah. So I can't sleep. We play 12:30 kickoff, or we play 8 o'clock kickoff, and I will be up till 5 in the morning.
You can't switch off. So our game is not a physical game on a Saturday. We are pure 100% mental. Everything we do is in our head, really. So like Monday to Friday, we work hard as anything. But on a Saturday, it's just concentration. So what you will find about a goalkeeper is we like to be not high, but like that feeling of buzzing.
You have to be
right?
alert.
But alert with a calmness. So
Yeah.
it's so hard to get your balance. So our job is to just put a calmness around the team. So like to not let anyone ever feel panicked. That's a goalkeeper's job. But we wire ourselves on caffeine. It makes no sense. But then we don't eat the same. We have a total different diet Monday to Friday and a Saturday to an outfield player. So we are again an individual doing a team sport. But this changes everything we do. And this is why the preconception of footballers think goalies are weird or we're crazy or like, and that is only because we're different.
Yeah, and I've seen Simon Moore. I don't know if he still does it, but when he was playing for Sheffield United, half time he'd have a Boost bar, chocolate bar. That was just his thing. But people think he's weird because the outfielders aren't having
Sounds
a chocolate
weird
bar.
having a chocolate bar, but
he's
why
just
not?
He'd having a Boost bar. He's like, it's got caffeine in. There's a bit of chocolate.
Sugar rush.
You like chocolate? You know what I mean? It's the best of both worlds. But so yeah, so match day. That pre-match quite light, but it varies. I'm not sort of a superstitious pre-match person.
Have you got any superstitions?
I do.
Like weirdly, so I talked about this before, right? I like walk out to before kickoff, walk in my goal. I take my caffeine gum out, put it behind the goal. I have a sip of water, and then for some reason I've developed into this thing of like as I walk around my goal, I spit out the water. But like I'm like
Triple H.
This is what I've used before. Triple H.
Kyle Walker.
But like, yeah, it's like that, and I'm like, I didn't know when I picked that up, but I know that I do it now,
Right.
so I still do it. And then after that, I then instead of like having a jog like the outfield players do or doing some fast fit, I talk to myself. And I know you've talked in the past about you singing games, you stay active. And I do this before kickoff. So, you know, when the ref's doing like the coin flip and all this like sort of stuff, I will just walk up and down the goal and tell myself objectives for that game. So like they shoot from distance, make sure I'm alert. And I just remind myself.
Yeah,
do you do stuff like this?
So mine is match day. So no one's allowed to wear my gloves on match day. Throughout the week, you can do what you want, put them on, whatever. match day, they're mine. All my right side of the stuff go on first. That's just dominant. It wouldn't throw me off if it wasn't, but it's just natural.
It's a habit now, yeah.
This is where my superstition now comes in. So I go into the physio room, and it's sometimes difficult when you play away in smaller dressing rooms, but I'll have it. So it'll be in the showers or wherever. Take myself away. Right glove on, left glove on, right glove off. Oh no, so right glove on, left glove on, and I'll stand there. And we've got a mirror in our physio room, and I'll stand in the mirror and I'll look down, make sure I look all right, touch my toes, a few claps together.
Check they're still there.
Yeah, making sure they're warm. Then right glove off. Then go around and say, good luck to everyone.
Good luck to everyone.
I hate it when I'm doing my tape or something and someone tries to do this. Leave me alone. Yeah, I don't want people touching my gloves, so I shake, but also it's a...
See, like him getting ready, that's him checking his equipment. Even like you looking in the mirror, you're checking that you're ready to play.
Yeah.
So then you know you're ready to play. So then you take your glove off, go and say hello. Like, good luck to everyone.
And then it's fine. The other side of taking my glove off is a respect thing. I remember I was on the bench for a youth cup game against Man United, and Bobby Charlton was there. And my dad went and said hello, and he took his glove off for my dad. So that was like one of the things which like stuck in my head. So that's mine. And then do the handshakes with my glove off, put my glove on, centre circle, the ball's on the spot. I'll go over and sort of just bend over and feel it, bounce it on the floor a couple of times. Run over to the goal, clap the fans, and then just as kickoff's taken, which is kind of killing me at the moment because I take kickoff.
Yeah, you take centre.
Yeah.
Effectively. They pass it back to him and he kicks it, which is very indifferent, really.
Yeah. But normally I am hand on the crossbar, no matter if it's being a goal against, goal for, start of the game, second half. Every time there's a restart from the centre circle, my hand's on the crossbar. Just like a restart, just to go again. Doesn't matter if it's my mistake, we've scored a worldie, we're 3-1 down. My dad used to write F it on my gloves in case I made a mistake. So there was times where I used to make a mistake and proper beat myself up. As a kid, like it's that emotional control which you've just spoke about. So I went through kind of ways of trying to like talking to yourself, saying if you've made a mistake, you spit on your gloves and you wipe it off, and it's like a clean slate. It's gone. Yeah. But then he went for a stage of like putting F it mentality on your gloves. So you look down and you're like, oh, right, all right, F it, it's gone. But that crossbar one is just a reset. It's there and it's just sort of me telling myself this is the start now. This is the start of the game. There's a
classic saying in football, right, that every time you restart play, it's still 0-0. So like everyone uses this. You could be 4-0 up and you're still going, treat it like it's 0-0.
That's the shout at half time when you're winning, even in our games and international games, because you can't rely on anything. One goal changes everything. So they're mine. 2 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of white socks.
Yeah,
one for warm up, one because I change everything.
So I'm similar. I don't like to warm up in any of the kit that I wear for the game,
apart from my slips.
Yep, same. So like
boots are different.
Even down to I warm up in a different pair of boots because I don't like that feeling of them being a bit damp or exactly the same. So
I think I might have got that from you.
You probably did.
I might have got that from you.
But like he probably grew up in a dressing room where I would probably do that, and then not buy on like nothing on purpose, but you'd have picked up some of the things.
Because we've got.
But Hoppo was brilliant. So our kit man at Sheffield United, he would go above and beyond to make sure you felt like you had everything. So when someone's willing to do that for you, you're like, oh, I will change that, and I will have a new pair of socks.
So Mike, going back to Hoppo, the Sheffield United kit man, he brought in an assistant, Adam Geelan, who's was one of my friends off the pitch. But my job as a youth team person was taking the kit from the top building at Sheffield United down to the bottom to laundry.
In the wheelie bins.
But Hoppo used to do it well for Hoppo. Hoppo used to give you stuff. I went to Chesterfield and Bournemouth on loan, and he gave me all my Under Armours and undershorts were from Hoppo.
All colour matching to his match kit.
But it was from Hoppo, from what he had before. So I think we had a purple Wimbledon, and about 4 years before, Sheffield United had a purple kit. So he kept them, and I've got them all. And it's just like how you treat them people. Like everyone says, kit men make the football club.
They really do.
And he makes that football club.
Yeah, he does.
And he's been there ever since.
Yeah.
Obviously, tells you something about him. So
he's got a great character in the dressing room and that, but he does go above and beyond. He loves the lads, and the lads love him. He is mental.
I've got a great story. Tottenham away last year, 2 years ago. So COVID, no oddballs.
Yeah,
the boxers and stuff. We've walked into the
friend of the pod, actually.
Are they?
Yeah,
oh,
they've
here
actually
we are then.
provided some gifts for our guests.
Nice. I love oddballs. I've got some. They're so comfy. But we're walking into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've had a tough year, and we walk in to our kit man in a pink 2-piece women's bra and thong type pants, just in the middle of Tottenham dressing room. Need anything, lads? Like walking around like he's got a proper Yorkshire accent, and he, all right, love, all right, you got everything, love. And he's in this 2-piece, and honestly, it didn't do anything for the game. We got beat, but it was amazing. But that's the type of person he is. Like
you'd turn up to
morning.
stadiums, right, and he'd have a full gym equipment, and he'd have done a full workout. Literally half an hour before
Listening
that.
to heavy metal.
Listening to heavy metal. He had this portable pull-up bar, and he would take like Olympic weights. He would like literally do this in the dressing room, and lads would be turning up, and he'd still be working out. I'd be like, oh my god, what is going on?
Yeah, if his timings are wrong. But they used to work till like 3 a.m. The next day we're in at 9, and they're like, don't know how like.
And they were full of energy as well. Like,
yeah,
they were the ones that like you said, helped the club run.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gone off topic from the gloves, aren't we?
Right. No, let's go to your Arsenal career then, and England career. Obviously, you're absolutely smashing it, mate. You've got over 100 Premiership appearances, like Premier League appearances at 24. You are on fire, mate. But like what you've done and your progression is for everyone to see, and like we're all in awe of it, mate. Obviously, I've worked with you before, and I know your personality, and you're not ready to settle for this either. You're pushing yourself, and you can see that even like in your eyes looking at us now. So how did you just flip that switch when you got your move? Obviously, you had to bide your time initially. How did that end up working out?
Well, the second year in a row when we got relegated with Sheffield, there was a few sort of rumours and stuff, and I remember my dad saying, "You're not signing for anyone who's going to be in another position like we've been in the past 2 years." He'd prefer me to have a strong season in the Championship, back enjoying it and stuff. So he said the only place I'd not allow you to go because it's your career, but want you to go would be a top club, and if that means sitting on the bench for a year, you'll fight your way in. Because I love challenges. Like I love being able to either prove people wrong or get in front of someone and get the better of them. So this dragged on for a while with Arsenal. And when I got there, everything just sort of clicked into place. The way they wanted to play suited me. The team had a tough start. But this was Bernd Leno. This is an international goalkeeper who's been outstanding for the past 3 years. And it wasn't his fault that the team were losing games. So it wasn't just an easy of he's having a stinker, I'm in. He was still performing very, very well. And I just had the opportunity to sort of get in. And then when I got my chance, I knew I just had to stay there. And then it's that sort of fight or flight thing in your head, like we were talking about, like this determination to win, to be the best, just takes over.
Your dad must have been well proud at that stage. I mean, it sounds, you've mentioned him a few times. Sounds like he's been quite.
Yeah, he's big. He's him and my mum. Like my mum was more the journeys to Bolton, getting me there and stuff. My dad's probably more like the talker. He understands that a little bit more, but he was the one I had honest conversations with the year before at Sheffield. And that sort of came from him saying he didn't want me to leave Bournemouth. But but he never like openly said it to me.
Is that to bubble wrap you a little bit, so you weren't open to that fight again and that maybe disappointment of a relegation?
I think so, yeah. I think he knew what Bournemouth were trying to do, and I was settled there, and he just wanted to see me enjoying myself. And I was like, no, I've got aspirations, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so me and my dad, we were very honest with each other, like, and what's ever said is said, and it's not taken any further. But we got in, and it's just been a fight because Bernd was there on my shoulder every single day in training. Like, some of the stuff some of the saves he's making, and I'm like, I can't do that. It's like that with everyone, isn't it? You look at certain people going, I can't do that.
But you then, keep goal your own way.
But then when you do something in your head, you go, you can't do that.
Yeah.
To them.
And that's a natural competitive element in all of us. We all have our own flaws, but we all know our own strengths. Yeah. And as long as you can get the most out of your strengths.
And being a solid 6 or 7 out of 10 with your weaknesses.
Yeah.
That's where things, so I had the backing of the manager. The team were great. I knew a few of them already, and we had a great English core. And it's just challenging, and that's the best thing. Which for me is if I'm standing still, or I have an easy way through. I've never had it easy. The release from Bolton, went on numerous trials, got told I was too small every single time, and then relegation after relegation. So it's just the way I like it. I like the uphill battle.
You're ready for the fight, mate?
Yeah, I am. I hope so.
Yeah. So obviously playing week in, week out for Arsenal, you're flying now, top of the league as we currently speak. What are your hopes and aspirations for this season?
A trophy's got to be... Before the season started, I said that we need to win the Europa League. I don't see why you wouldn't.
Aim for that goal.
It's a chance of a trophy. You qualify for the Champions League anyway. So the top 4 was a goal, but for me, I was like, why would you go into a Europa League season and not try and win it? So try and win that, or try and win a domestic cup. But obviously, we're sitting here now at the top of the league, but there's a long old way to go with an awkward situation in the middle with obviously the World Cup. So that might help teams or hinder teams. You lose momentum, you lose players with injuries and all this. So the cliche is the game at a time, but for us, we know the team behind us have been there, done it numerous times. So it's just us trying to learn all about the situation. Like, how do we stay here? How do we
just perform at that level of consistency, week in, week
the
out?
Pressure. So for me, I think
last year you was under immense pressure throughout the season from different points, obviously right to the end. But you as a team will have improved from that moment.
Yeah, and then bringing Gabby Jesus and Zinchenko, who were known winners. Obviously, they don't solve everything, but there's little moments in every team where you doubt a little bit, and they've been there and done it. And so that even them, like, they're both really young, but they'll just say something, and then that'll stick with you for half an hour just before you're about to play, and you're like, well, if he's saying that, he's gone and done it. Why can't we do it? So
we should listen to that.
Yeah. So at the moment, it's really fun. Like, it's just so much fun going to play football at the moment.
That's amazing to hear that. Like, obviously, the fun is the biggest reason and the only reason why we ever started doing this job, because it was fun.
That's what it is at the moment for me.
And to say that, like, it's no longer your job, but you've gone back to that enjoyment factor. I think for everyone to listen and the kids out there, it's just remember to just enjoy it.
That every time I have a tough few days or tough few performances, that's all I try and go back to. Diving in the mud, having fun, celebrating a save. I know people don't really like it, but I do.
But everyone is loving seeing your personality now. Obviously, you're going to have some people criticise you, say, from that old school where a goalkeeping book of like, oh no, be quiet and like don't celebrate a save and all of that. But you're imparting your own personality into your game, which people should applaud you for.
So this is a team is what we're trying to get to, though. We're trying to get together so close. And it was funny, we, as a team, we got labelled that we over-celebrate and stuff. It's only been 3 games. It's like, it's so hard to win a game of football.
It really
at
is.
any level, especially the top level. When you're playing Premier League, you're playing away from home. And it's like, we've kind of got this effort mentality now at the football club, where it's like, people always trying to have a sort of a dig at Arsenal. It always has been, but when you're in it, you kind of see it a little bit. And I think before, maybe teams probably over the past 8-10 years maybe have took that to heart a little bit, but we're kind of just brushing it off. Just like, we'll
but
do
see,
what we want.
your winning mentality and celebrating every win. Do you think that when you lose a game, it makes you desperate to get that feeling again?
Can't wait for the next week. Can't wait for training. Training's heated 2 days after. So we obviously recovery and then training. Everyone, the day after a loss is such a better training session than when the day after a win, because everyone just wants to make it right. Everyone's
at it.
And people, you make a mistake on a Saturday, on the Monday, people are ready to be like, everyone knows you're a good player, but I'm going to show you I don't make that same mistake twice.
Is that purely self-inflicted, or do you find yourself, are you reading the tweets after games? Are you on the socials and stuff, or do you switch that stuff off?
No, so I used to have my socials on, and then obviously I got a bit of heat from the transfer in the first place. So the only sort of notifications or comments people can do with the people I follow. I started social media like football. I started for fun and I follow people who I want to. So people can still sort of at me on Twitter or whatever, but it won't go on anywhere near my profile. But all that's nonsense anyway. Like it's the people.
You don't do it for them.
No.
You do it for yourself, your family, your colleagues.
And the only people
teammates.
you need is family, manager, staff, and players. And then your fans. Because that's be all and end all. I don't need anybody on TalkSport liking me.
That's not why you do the job that you do. Like,
not at all.
So, right, let's go. Finally, let's talk about England then. Hopes and dreams for the World Cup. Obviously, making your England debut against San Marino in a 10-0 win.
Yeah.
I'm not going to brush over that, mate.
Chair.
It is unbelievable when you got your first cap, mate. I was there celebrating it like as if I was the one playing. I was so proud of you. It's like watching my little boy play, mate. I was like, oh my God, I've worked with him. I was like, oh my God, I feel it. I wonder how he feels.
It was so strange. Like, Gareth was amazing to me. He said, with no disrespect to San Marino, you'll have bigger games for Arsenal and for Bournemouth, Sheffield. Harry Maguire
and AFC Wimbledon.
Yeah, Harry Maguire was outstanding. So he was behind me in the lineup, and he just turned around and just before we walked out, he went, "Come a long way since Chesterfield, ain't you, bud?" Because I used to play with his brother at Chesterfield, so that chilled me out. And then I looked up, and my mum, my dad, one of my brothers, my agent, and my fiance were out there. My eldest brother didn't have a passport valid. Idiot. So he couldn't make it.
What pub did he spend the night in?
Probably the local back home, but it was just singing the anthem, seeing them. Dad was in tears. Georgina was in tears. And just singing it. And I managed to get I made a save and I made a punch. And then I was done. And it was absolutely fine. I was fine with that. And it was just, the next game came around against Italy. And Italy just won the European Championships. But that first game, I always had my nerves, but I had that first game got all my nervous out. And I was just like, it's a game of football again. And I was with Big H again. And Big H went, "You ready?" I was like, yeah. Just went and played. And it was, again, that enjoyment, that fun. So England is, it's so difficult that the people who are in front of you or behind you, pushing you, the talent is so good. So it's one which...
You are the elite of the country.
Yeah. So it's one which you can't take for granted. And I think the World Cup, personally, I think it's 6 months too soon for me to really challenge. And I've said this a few times, it's not for me to go, for people to go, "Oh no, you should be number one." It's like, I'm being realistic. I've played 3 times for England with a World Cup coming 6 weeks. I'm not really going to play, but that's not me sort of just throwing the towel in. I am fighting to be that starting goalkeeper.
Of course,
but it's one of them. If I'm not, then I'll support whoever is as best as I can, and best believe after that I'll be doing everything I can to
get the next
to be
tournament.
getting the next tournament.
Yep.
And then 2024, the Euros, I'll be 26. Hopefully,
it's scary. You'll only be 26, mate. I'm
Hopefully,
36. You're saying? I was like, oh nah.
hopefully a few more caps. So it's just so hard to break it. Obviously in our position anyway, but to break in, stay in, do it.
Longevity in football, and especially at that level, is scary. And to just get your opportunity and say, right, I've got to stake a claim now, because you're not together that frequently.
No.
And you've seen it in the past where a goalkeeper can come in for one game and tarnish their whole England career. So to say that you've already had 3 caps by the age of 24, mate, you've got a great possibility of going to play in the next tournament. And even if you don't play, just the experience.
It's a World Cup.
It's a World Cup, mate. That is the stuff that we've all dreamt about. You hopefully, mate, fingers crossed, you might have that opportunity to go to the World Cup and play.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we've got a team who can win. And play or not, if I'm there, I am milking the life out of that. It's a World Cup, and I will carry the starting goalkeeper home, whoever it is, if we win that World Cup. There might be jealousy down the line, thinking, it might, imagine if it was me. But at that time, if I've got a gold medal around mine, oh my God, I swear. It'd be the best thing ever, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's what you dream of.
But even if it doesn't go well for England at the World Cup, that then might create the next opportunity for you. So either way, you're going into this tournament, pressure's off a little bit because you can concentrate on your form for Arsenal and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly that. There's no point thinking about it unless I'm playing well for Arsenal. So that's the first and foremost. And like you say, football is so cruel. People get chances through other people's disappointments, and that's a fact. You never want that to happen to anyone, but it does, and then it's your chance to go and snatch it.
Just have to be ready.
Yeah. So the opportunity is amazing at the moment. We'll wait and see, but it's a World Cup, and it's one which I want to be there at. I want to play, but if circumstances are other, then I'll do everything I can to help the goalkeeper and the team. I'll stand in goal for 100 penalties, 100 free kicks, shooting drills, the lot. So it's always going to be enjoyable, isn't it?
I think that's it then. I think we are going to end the first episode like this. Aaron Ramsdale, what a hero, mate. You've come such a long way, and it's a pleasure to have you on the pod and have been part of your journey. I can tell that not have I affected your career, because I'm not going to... I really am. I am not going to claim that I've had any bearing on your career, but it's been amazing to help and see you grow as a person, and I wish you all the best for the future, mate. It's really humbling to see that you're still a lovely person.
Very
mate.
nice, isn't it? Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much, Aaron Ramsdale.
Thank you. Cheers.
This has been the Yours Mine Away podcast with me, Mark Howard.
What a save from Mark Howard.